The Madison Square Garden hummed with electric anticipation on that crisp November evening in 1971. New York City had been buzzing about this fight for weeks. Muhammad Ali, the self-proclaimed greatest, facing off against Johnny Ralston, a rising star from Philadelphia with 23 wins and no losses to his name. Ali moved through the backstage corridors with his entourage, his usual pre-fight swagger on full display. At 29 years old, he carried both the weight of his controversial past and the determination of a man fighting to reclaim his rightful place in boxing history after his forced hiatus from the sport. "You ready to see something beautiful? Tonight?" Ali called out to reporters lined along the corridor. "After tonight, they'll be calling Ralston the Invisible Man, because that's how fast he's going to disappear." Behind the bravado, however, Ali's trainer, Angelo Dundee, noticed something different in his fighter's eyes, a quiet intensity that transcended the usual theatrics. Just 3 fights into his comeback after being stripped of his title for refusing military induction, Ali knew each match was about more than victory. It was about redemption. In the locker room, Johnny Ralston wrapped his hands methodically. At 25, the Philadelphia fighter represented a new generation. Hungry, technically sound, and unafraid of Ali's reputation or mind games. His trainer, veteran cornerman Mickey Rossi, kept his voice low as he reviewed their strategy one final time. "Remember, he's trying to find his rhythm again. Don't let him establish it. Keep moving to your right, away from that left jab. Make him work for everything." Ralston nodded, his expression betraying nothing. "I respect Ali," he said quietly, "but respect won't stop me from knocking him out." The arena erupted as Ali entered, dancing lightly on his feet to James Brown's "The Boss" blaring through the speakers. He climbed into the ring with practiced ease, immediately claiming the space as his own, turning in circles with his gloved hands raised high. Ralston entered moments later to a respectable but noticeably more subdued reception. The contrast between Ali's flamboyance and Ralston's businesslike demeanor couldn't have been more stark. In the center of the ring, referee Arthur Mercante gave his final instructions. Ali leaned in close to Ralston, whispering, "Hope you brought your running shoes, young man." Ralston just stared back, unmoved. "Save your breath. You're gonna need it." The bell rang, and 17,000 people rose to their feet as the 2 men circled each other cautiously. Ali, light on his feet despite his years away, flicked out his legendary jab, testing Ralston's reflexes. The younger fighter was quick, slipping most of Ali's early offerings while looking to counter. By the 3rd round, the fight had settled into a fascinating tactical battle. Ali controlled the center of the ring, his jab establishing distance, while Ralston looked to explode forward with combinations before retreating to safety. "He's slowing down already," Ali taunted during a clinch. "I thought Philly fighters were supposed to be tough." In the 5th round, something unexpected happened. Ali, having found his rhythm, unleashed a lightning-fast combination that backed Ralston into the ropes. The crowd roared as Ali followed up with his signature right hand. But instead of landing clean, Ralston ducked under it and countered with a vicious left hook to Ali's body. The punch landed with a thud that was audible even above the crowd noise. Ali winced visibly but recovered quickly, nodding at Ralston as if to acknowledge the quality of the punch. "Now we've got ourselves a fight," Ali said, loud enough for the front-row spectators to hear. As the bell rang, ending the 8th round, both men returned to their corners, breathing heavily. The fight had been even, perhaps with a slight edge. To Ali's experience and ring generalship, neither man, however, had been able to decisively hurt the other. That was about to change. If this story has made you feel something, no matter how small, don't leave without giving back. Comment and tell me where you're watching this video from, and subscribe to the channel. The 9th round began with renewed urgency from both fighters. Ali, sensing Ralston might be tiring, increased his output, peppering the younger fighter with combinations that pushed him toward the ropes. Ralston, determined not to be backed up, planted his feet and traded punches with the former champion. For 30 seconds, Madison Square Garden witnessed an incredible exchange of power punches. The crowd was on its feet, the noise deafening as both men refused to yield ground. Suddenly, Ali connected with a perfect right cross that snapped Ralston's head back. The Philadelphia fighter stumbled backward, his legs momentarily unsteady. Ali, sensing his opportunity, moved in for the finish. But as he closed the distance, something alarming happened. Ralston's expression changed from determination to confusion. His eyes rolled upward, and without any punch landing, he collapsed to the canvas, his body going rigid before beginning to convulse. A murmur of confusion rippled through the arena. This wasn't a normal knockdown. Something was terribly wrong. Ali, rather than celebrating or moving to a neutral corner as fighters typically do after a knockdown, immediately waved frantically toward Ralston's corner and the ringside doctor. "Get in here now! Something's wrong with him!" Ali shouted, dropping to one knee beside his fallen opponent. The referee pushed Ali back as medical personnel rushed into the ring. The crowd, initially buzzing with excitement, fell into a hushed silence as the gravity of the situation became apparent. Ralston was having a seizure on the canvas. Ali paced nervously at the farthest corner of the ring, his face a mask of concern. Gone was the showman, the entertainer, the self-proclaimed greatest. In his place stood simply a man, watching another. Man in distress, the fight forgotten. Dr. Thomas Morrison, the ringside physician, worked quickly alongside paramedics to stabilize Ralston. The fighter's convulsions had stopped, but he remained unconscious as they carefully placed him on a stretcher. Ali watched intently, his usual animated features now still and solemn. As they prepared to carry Ralston from the ring, Ali approached. "The doctor, is he going to be all right?" The question came without pretense or performance, just genuine concern in his voice. "We need to get him to the hospital immediately," Dr. Morrison replied tersely. The announcer's voice echoed through the arena, informing the crowd that the fight had been stopped due to a medical emergency. A mixture of disappointed groans and concerned murmurs filled the space. What happened next would be recounted in newspapers across the country the following morning. As paramedics began moving toward the ring exit with Ralston on the stretcher, Ali suddenly pushed past security and approached the fallen fighter. The arena fell completely silent. Even the cameramen stopped moving, all lenses trained on Ali. "I'm coming with him," Ali announced firmly to the medical team. One of the paramedics began to object, but Ali cut him off. "That's not a request." "Angelo." Dundee rushed over, grabbing Ali's arm. "What are you doing? The commission needs to sort this out. There's procedures." "To hell with procedures," Ali replied, his voice unusually quiet but intensely resolute. "I'm going with him." Before anyone could stop him, Ali climbed through the ropes and followed the stretcher down the aisle toward the exit. The crowd, understanding what they were witnessing, began to applaud slowly at first, then building to a thunderous ovation. Howard Cosell, broadcasting live for ABC, captured the moment perfectly. "Ladies and gentlemen, in my 30 years of covering sports, I have never witnessed anything like this. Muhammad Ali, forfeiting certain victory, leaving the ring to accompany his stricken opponent to the hospital. This transcends sport. This is humanity at its finest." In the ambulance, Ali sat silently as paramedics worked on Ralston, who had regained consciousness but remained disoriented. When Ralston's eyes finally focused and he recognized Ali sitting beside him, confusion crossed his face. Why are you here?" Ralston managed to ask weakly. Ali leaned forward, his voice gentle. "Because some things matter more than fighting, champ. Some things matter more than winning." At Roosevelt Hospital, Ali refused preferential treatment, sitting in the waiting room for hours like any other visitor while doctors ran tests on Ralston. When reporters inevitably found him there, he declined to speak about the fight, asking instead that they respect Ralston's privacy during this time. "This isn't about me," he told the gathered press. "This isn't about boxing. This is about a man's life." By morning, news had spread that Ralston had suffered a cerebral hemorrhage, likely from a previous training injury that had been exacerbated during the fight. Doctors confirmed that Ali's quick action in recognizing something was wrong and calling for immediate medical attention had potentially saved Ralston's life. 3 weeks later, Muhammad Ali stood in the doorway of a private room at the rehabilitation center where Johnny Ralston was recovering. He carried no entourage this time, just a small gift bag and the weight of concern for a fellow fighter. Ralston, noticeably thinner but alert, broke into a surprised smile. "The greatest himself. To what do I owe this honor?" Ali entered the room, his usual theatrical movements subdued. "Just checking in on the only man who's ever escaped a beating from me by taking a nap in the middle of the fight." Both men laughed, the tension broken. They talked for nearly 2 hours, about boxing, about life, about the fragility of dreams. Ralston revealed that doctors had told him his boxing career was over. The risk of another hemorrhage was too great. "I don't know what I'm supposed to do now," Ralston admitted. "Boxing was everything to me." Ali nodded thoughtfully. "You know, they took 3.5 years from me too. Different reason, but the feeling's the same. Like someone stole your life." "How did you handle it?" Ralston asked. "I found something bigger than boxing," Ali replied. "Found out I could fight for more than just a belt." Before leaving, Ali placed the gift bag on Ralston's bed. Inside was a pair of custom boxing gloves, not for fighting. These were display gloves, encased in glass with an inscription, "To Johnny Ralston, a champion in the ring, a champion in life." What few people knew was that Ali had also arranged to cover Ralston's medical expenses and had been working behind the scenes with his connections to secure Ralston a position as a youth boxing coach in Philadelphia once he recovered. 6 months later, at the opening of that youth center in Philadelphia's toughest neighborhood, Ali surprised everyone by showing up unannounced. As cameras flashed and children gathered around both former fighters, Ali put his arm around Ralston's shoulders. "You see these kids?" Ali said, gesturing to the young faces looking up at them with awe. "They need heroes who know how to lose as well as win. They need men who understand that what happens outside the ring matters more than what happens inside it." That evening, as the two former opponents sat watching the sunset from the gym's back steps, Ralston finally asked the question that had been on his mind for months. "Why did you do it, Ali? Why did you leave the ring that night? You had the win, the spotlight, everything you'd fought to get back." Ali was quiet for a long moment before answering. "Because my mama taught me something important when I was just a boy in Louisville. She said, 'Cassius, being the greatest doesn't mean winning every fight. It means knowing which fights really matter.'" The story of that night in Madison Square Garden has been told countless times in boxing circles, not for the technical brilliance of the fight itself, but for the moment when Muhammad Ali, the self-proclaimed greatest, proved that sometimes greatness has nothing to do with victory at all. If you made it this far and felt every word, don't leave without subscribing. I tell these stories with my heart in my hands to reach people like you, who feel, who get emotional, who live. If this truly touched you, give back, comment, subscribe. Come be part of this family with me until the next video.